Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the social characteristics and consequences of students with autism spectrum disorder. This presentation is by Kendall, Baughn, Kyle Martin, and Jared Wheeler, myself, and we're going to start today with a video about social characteristics of autism.
Hey Daniel, you want to take a seat?
Don't worry about it, he was an idiot anyway.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
Understand it. Just don't understand it.
There's nothing to understand. He's playing games. Just wants you running around after him.
I mean, if there's something wrong with me,
You just count it as his loss.
but why would he say he loved me and why would he dump me?
Because he's a man.
But why? Why has another one dumped me?
Maybe he thought you were ugly.
So we're going to start out talking about the social interactions of students with autism. First, students with autism have difficulty reading social cues, so they often have a hard time understanding emotions. People may show that they're sad, they just don't understand that they're sad and may say something inappropriate to the timing or something like that. Next, they have problems starting, maintaining, and ending conversations. So they have trouble getting into a conversation, and then when they don't know what to talk about, they feel awkward, don't understand it, and then they feel trapped. They don't understand how to end the conversation, how to exit in a socially acceptable way. Next, they're naive about social conventions, so they don't understand social norms as well. They don't think they apply. They don't quite understand why they need to be doing and keeping social conventions. Next, they're unable to cope with changes in daily social interactions. So during the day, you'll be constantly going through these social interactions, and it's tough for them to understand why they're changing, why is it a big deal, why are you changing from conversation to conversation. They have trouble developing peer relationships, so their peers don't understand why they talk about only certain things, they only talk about their interests. They're not able to have a reciprocal relationship as well. And then they have, like I said, trouble understanding facial expressions, so they often need a chart to carry around with them to see what's happy, what's sad, because they just don't understand the facial expressions like we do. And then they have trouble responding to the emotions of others. So there's really three interactional types of students with autism, and the first is aloof. These are students with autism that are isolated from most humans, so these are the ones that avoid human contact, avoid human conversation. They'll often ignore you if you try to talk to them, and they respond negatively to those trying to engage them, so they may get upset, they may get angry or flustered. And this is the most classical social interaction of autism that we see, or the most stereotypical one. You assume the students are going to ignore you or move past you. Next is the passive interaction. These students don't seek out interaction. They won't come to you and start a conversation unless they need something. They're not trying to be social, but they're going to take time to respond if you approach them for a conversation. So they're going to understand that I do need to speak to them. I do need to talk back to them. Their speech is generally more developed than those that are aloof, so they have had more practice in conversation, so they understand how to have conversation more often, and they're a more moderate level of students with autism. And then the last one is active but odd. So this is generally going to be students that are just a little bit awkward or maybe don't understand conversation while they're in it. So they will initiate social contact in odd ways. So they are going to talk about things that only interest them. They're not going to be able to hop from subject to subject, so it's going to feel awkward. They're going to continue dwelling on a topic that you may not want to. They don't care if the listener genuinely wants to listen to the topic because they don't understand that they're not also interested in that topic. You just see this ineptness of social skills that you wouldn't see in a person without autism. So, like I said, they just don't understand that it's time to move on to a new topic when it is that time.
Okay, so another characteristics of students with autism is what we call the theory of mind. This is the basic concept that humans can kind of perceive what someone else is thinking and how they're feeling, and they can kind of detect that and kind of change their behavior based on how someone else is feeling. So if someone else is sad, they can kind of pick up on that and react accordingly. So students with autism, they generally lack the ability to take the perspective of another person and modify their behavioral responses to match the situation. They cannot understand desires and interactions of others. They have trouble predicting responses and planning future actions. They have trouble reading emotional messages, and they cannot put themselves in other people's shoes. So basically, they have a hard time kind of catching on these body language symbols, stuff that seems obvious to those who don't have ASD. They have trouble picking up these little signs and behaving in a social norm type of a way. So some of the consequences of this lack is they're perceived as rude by others, disrespectful, cold and uncaring, and they generally lack empathy. That's how people can perceive somebody with autism. And obviously this isn't because they're rude or uncaring people. This is just because they perceive things differently, literally, than everyone else does. So they may say something that seems out of place or uncaring. It's just because they're not making that connection that someone else would typically pick up on. Okay, so we're going to show you a quick video that kind of demonstrates what we just talked about, how he's going to be showing you how he's having trouble picking up on body language, social norms, not being able to put herself in her shoes to figure out how he's supposed to respond in this particular situation.
Can you tell me how to get to Restoration Unit 3C? I have to report to Jeffrey Fox. Can you tell me how to get to Restoration Unit 3C? I have to report to Jeffrey Fox here.
Come on then, I'll show you. It's this way. This place is a maze. Which means I have to show people around all the time. I don't get paid any extra to do it.
My name's Daniel Davidson. What's yours? My name's Daniel Davidson.
So if you
What's
just
yours?
follow me through here, I'm sure you've been here before as a visitor, but nothing prepares you for the true size of it. I mean, I've been working here about 3 years and I still get lost, so I wouldn't worry. It's only your first day, so if you find yourself wandering around, you're not exactly sure where you're going, there are phones on every level, so you can always buzz reception and I'll let you know where to go. Excuse me, what do you think you're doing?
Trying to get your name.
Yeah, sure you were. Pervert.
Okay, so how can we as teachers, as special education teachers in particular, help students with autism learn social skills, or anybody who may be working with them, whether it's parents or anybody who's going to be in contact with those with autism. So we're going to talk about something we can do to help them. Okay, so one of the strategies that we're going to talk about today is using what's called social stories. A social story describes a situation, skill, or concept in the terms of relevant social cues, perspectives, and common responses in a specifically defined style and format. The goal of a social story is to share accurate social information in a patient and reassuring manner that is easily understood by its audience. So in layman's terms, what a social story is it's presenting a situation that a student's going to encounter on a daily basis. Say, for instance, a student with autism has trouble meeting new people. He doesn't know how to behave or respond. So we create a story for the student. We can use pictures or straight descriptive to kind of help them react when that situation occurs. Kind of show them how they would behave in a normal way. There's situational stories that show students how to react. Like I said, they should be written in the first person, and they help the child to decipher future similar situations, so that when these situations actually do arrive, they know how they're supposed to behave. Okay, so how do we write a social story? First of all, we've got to imagine the goal of the social story. So what is it we're trying to teach the student? If we're trying to teach a student how they're supposed to behave when they meet a new person for the first time, well, we need to write a story about that, a scenario that helps explain them and walk through that process. Observe the student and collect information for the story. So we have to know what the student is doing correctly or incorrectly, obviously, to reteach them how to behave. Use specific types of sentences for different stories, such as descriptive, affirmative, or control. And last, pick a title that describes a story in its entirety. Okay, so this is an example of a social story about running, obviously, and it's teaching a child when it's socially acceptable to run, where it's okay to run, and where it's not okay to run. So this is, it lacks pictures, this is straight descriptive, so, and notice all the first person it uses. So I'll read it to you. I like to run, it is fun to go fast, it's okay to run when I am playing outside. I can run when I'm on the playground. Sometimes I feel like running, but it is dangerous to run when I am inside. Running inside could hurt me or other people. When people are inside, they walk. Walking inside is safe. I will try to walk inside and only run when I am outside on the playground. My teachers and parents like it when I remember to walk inside. So they use first person here. Obviously the point is to teach this child that it's okay to run on the playground, it's not okay to run inside at school. And also notice that it's not just telling a student don't do this or to do that, it tells them and explains to them in a way they'll understand why we want that behavior. So why do we not want them to run inside is because it's unsafe. So it teaches them a very concise story so that when these situations arrive, they know how to approach them.
So this is another example of a social story called Save Kisses for Home. This story is used to explain to kids that it is not appropriate to kiss at school, and then where it is appropriate to kiss at school. It's also a different kind of social story than the last one because this one uses illustrations in it. So I'll go ahead and read the social story to you. It's called Save Kisses for Home. When we are in school, we need to always try our best to respect other people's space. Pretend that your friends have a circle around them. This is called their personal space. Some students feel very uncomfortable if you stand close to them. Sometimes we want to show our friends how much we like them. Shaking a friend's hand or patting them on the back shows them you like them. Sharing your toys or materials also shows someone that you like them. It is not appropriate to show our friends that we like them by kissing them in school. This might make your friends feel weird or uncomfortable. Just try and remember when it is appropriate to enter someone's personal space. Think about a time when it is okay to enter someone's space. Now think about a time when it is not okay to enter someone's space and when it might make them feel nervous. All of our friends at school will be happy if we try and respect. So how can social stories like the one I just read and the one Kyle read earlier help students with autism? First, it gives them examples to rely on for similar situations, and it helps them picture themselves in these situations before they occur. It also helps them put themselves in others' shoes before the incident and provides reasons to partake in social norms. Teaching through repetition helps them get to mastery level, and then it helps a person cope with changes in a situation. So these are the references that we used throughout our presentation. The first one was the textbook, Learners with Mild Disabilities, and then we used two websites, speakingofspeech.com and educateautism.com.